Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Lunch with a Top Producer. I'm Jose Perez, your president-elect for 2023, and I'm excited to be here with a special guest. And with us is
Jesus Guerra, president of the Greater Edina Association of Realtors. Welcome to episode 21.
And with us is our amazing guest,
Georgette Solano, aka GP Solano.
Guys, you guys are going to want to take some notes. She's going to bring a lot of value, a lot of good information, and she's going to make sure that your business grows for 2023. Come on in. Everybody, once again, thank you guys for being here with us, sharing your time. I hope that you guys are ready to take some great notes because we have an amazing guest. Georgette, let them get to know you a little bit better. How long have you been in the industry now? What were you doing before real estate? How did you end up in this journey of real estate?
That is a really good question. I was thinking about that today. So my first job, Joe asked me about this yesterday. My first job ever was as a telemarketer selling Texcoat. So our competitor was Sears that had Texcoat 99, and I worked for Vera and Connolly McCants. Vera McCants was a realtor under Marty Rodriguez for Century 21. So she used to, yes, she used to share the information. I remember her bringing in the San Gabriel Valley Tribune paper, and it said Marty Rodriguez had done $1 million that year, and it was an interview with her.
Wow.
And I remember thinking, wow, I would like to do that one day, but you never think about it. So I was like 15 at the time. Fast forward, I go through a career in banking, leave, go into staffing. I'm a business developer. I get licensed for real estate because everyone was getting one, but I wasn't ready to leave a job. And I was glad I didn't. And then when I stopped working finally, I always had my license, and I was like, okay, let me use it here and there. And so I kind of found my way. And then in 2017, I was already a broker for 2 years, and I met with Joe Yescusa, and I wanted to pick his brain and say, like, okay, how do you manage so many people? How have you grown an office? How do you do all of these things? And he said, let me stop you. You need to come work for me. And I said, no, I didn't come to ask for a job.
Shout out to Joe.
And he said, no, you need to come work for me. We have all these tools. You're trying to do all these things on your own. And you know what? He was right. He saw something I didn't. And, I joined Century 21 All-Stars.
How long has it been? Since 2017 now?
We're going on year 6.
On year 6.
Was that like when you walk in and it's interesting, people go thinking they have this in purpose, and then people align you to a greater purpose?
Yes.
Right? Looking back on that, most people call it the aha moment, like, aha. How do you, looking back, how does that make you feel knowing that you made the right decision, listening to someone like Joe?
I'm grateful every single day, and I don't lose sight of that. Number one, success comes because it leaves clues. You put in work, you focus, you look towards your mentors. I don't think anybody does this alone, because really our careers take a whole village. We need title reps, we need escrow people, we need assistants, we need TCs. We need all of these people to help us and guide us and to kind of trailblaze the path for us. So like for me, it was Brisa Bueno, Mercedes de la Cruz, Erica Moreno, Diana, Paola, a lot of the people in our office, including Luther especially, that sat there and just made success look like it was easy, like it was just something that that you just got up and you did every single day.
Are you like the first one being an entrepreneur?
Yes. My parents were both W-2 9-to-5 people. My dad was in logistics and my mother was in education. Roughly translated, my dad was a truck driver, but he was very well-to-do. He worked really hard, 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. My mom was mostly a stay-at-home mom, and then she got a career in the school district as a part-time instructional aide.
Wow,
Your family's from...
My parents were first generation, so I'm second generation. Their parents were all immigrants.
From what? From where?
From Mexico, San Juan de los Lagos, Jalisco, Mexico. That's right.
Jalisco. Great people from Jalisco. Even though truth is different from Jalisco,
So they say.
Now, you're in a very competitive industry, right? Especially in a very competitive office. There's challenges that come across our journey here in real estate. What is one of the things that's driven you the most? Even those times when you don't really want to do it, you don't want to be in the industry, because we all have those moments. But what's your biggest drive that's kept you to be in this competitive industry and operating at a really high level?
Well, it's a very personal thing. Number one, because I don't ever want to go broke. I have my kids, I have my husband, my family, everything. Two, my mom, before she passed away,
Sorry for your loss.
Passed away really quickly, and before that, things were changing as far as education goes, and she was going to have to get some credentials to keep her job in the school district. So she was worried, how do I go back to school? How do I do these different things? How do I change with the times? And she really wasn't prepared. So when she passed away, she had maybe $6,000 in a 401k. Luckily we had a life insurance policy that was due to expire 10 days after she passed.
Wow.
And it all came in, it came in clutch. So I always told myself, I'm not going to let that happen to me. I'm going to figure it out. And so every day I wake up broke. In my mind, I wake up at zero because I don't have, a client at the moment, and that's what drives me every single day.
So putting yourself in that state of mind, like, I've had all this success, but I don't let that keep me away from what I got to do on a day-to-day. So that's good. Now, I asked you about challenges that are happening on a day-to-day. What are some challenges that you experienced when you were a new agent to get your business off the ground? What were you able to do? Because there's certain people right now that are struggling, and it just takes that one thing that they switch to unlock that safe. What do you feel was that one thing you had to switch when you were new in the industry to get to where you're at right now?
Well, you have to have a goal every day. So, in staffing, it was 25 connects a day, 125 a week. So that took like 300 dials. So you have to set a goal for yourself every single day. Am I going to get a lead? Am I going to get a listing? Am I going to get a new buyer? Am I going to get permission to call somebody back? How many people am I going to contact on a daily basis? Whether it's through, now we have the luxury of social media, but before you had to pick up the phone, and then what conversations do you have? And how am I going to bring value to somebody? So the biggest thing is know your market, number one, because you want people to see you as a subject matter expert. You want them to want to take your call.
That's right.
And respect what you do, because people see, there's, so many realtors, what's going to distinguish you? So you want to call them, and really just putting things together in perspective for yourself. Why am I doing this? What do I hope to achieve each day? How much is the income that I'm trying to make, and how am I going to break that down into bite-sized steps to, number one, keep my family afloat, and number two, get where I want to go, and then where's my growth from there?
I love that, by the way.
Yeah, you broke it down into very good segments. That's something I believe every realtor should do as soon as they walk in, like step foot.
But we don't, and we get lost, and then we get like I struggle with anxiety and depression from time to time. And I realize that it's when I'm not focused. And we can lose focus because what does everyone think realtors do? That we go home and we're sitting in front of the TV and we're eating toast or drinking midday or at every happy hour. They don't see all the ins and outs that go into it. So if you don't have yourself focused, it's really easy to get lost because who's going to stop you? You have all the freedom, the autonomy, the time. It's like you could be your own worst enemy.
You mentioned something when you were stating that. You said because of your previous job. Your previous job, do you think that also helped you stay focused with a job also doing the same sort of context? Do you think that also prepared you?
No.
No?
Because it's like a muscle. If you're not constantly using it, you lose it. Like yesterday, I did a role play with Joe, and Joe always says, how does it feel to fail at a high level? Always fail forward. And at first it sounds condescending, but then when you really go through it, you're like, no, that's the best thing that you can do. Because we did a role play and I totally blew it, and he was like, okay, you haven't done this in a while. And I'm like, no, I haven't, and this is where I need to sharpen my skills.
Constantly, and she shares something key. You have to constantly, daily sharpen those skills. If you don't use it, you lose it. She said, it's a muscle you have to work on a daily basis if you want to be successful. One of my favorite quotes is, I fear a man that's practiced one kick 1,000 times as opposed to a man that's practiced 1,000 kicks one time. So I think that's what you're kind of talking. We have to constantly be
sharpen up that axe.
That
and
mindset.
it's very humbling for a top producer to even come and say, I mean, now you're recording this, right? Because most top producers say, no, I know it. Yet you humbly say, you know what, I need to sharpen up my axe.
But I do every day. I have to work on other things, because this isn't like a be all end all say all, okay, I've made it and that's it. The market is constantly changing. I came into the market when it was tough. Nobody wanted to be a realtor. Everyone was leaving real estate because they couldn't make any money. They were going broke, all of these things. And I figured if I'm going to go into something, I'm going to do it at the hardest time. So any other market will be easier. So from that experience, you don't stop learning how to work. Everyone's been afraid of this market shift. And it's like, no, you're afraid to put in the work. You're going to have to show 20 or 30 houses now.
You're afraid of what? You're afraid to put in the what? The work. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, what did you have to do different this past year than you did the year before? Because the year before, where were you at in production-wise?
So my production took like little dips, and it goes back to mindset and activities. So when 2020 came, I was like everyone else. I was like, hey, I'm not going to figure out what this is going to be or whatever. So I did the bare minimum. And thank you, Michael Bordellis. I was with your office for a short time then, and you let me be there and produce at a very low level. So I'm sure you were disappointed with my production, but you always encouraged me, so thank you. So in 2020, I had left All Stars for a little while. I spent some time with Michael Bordellis, and then I ended up going back to All Stars. And I really wasn't putting in the effort. And I was like, you know what, I'll catch up next year. When all this pandemic's behind us, I'll catch up next year. Well, next year comes, and guess what? We're out of shape. So then we're not putting in that same level of production. My husband became a lender in 2020. He killed it. 2021, he's doing good. So then I'm kind of like, hey, I could just kind of kick back for a little bit, cruise control. And I lost sight of like how much effort it needed to go in. And then I think I came to the end of the year and I was like, screw this. I don't want to not get, I don't want to not be a centurion. So then, I turned my focus and I was like, okay, now I got to start putting in the work. And 2022 was a very hard year.
Yeah, it was with a lot of the corrections, good year, and took a little bit of it paused for a little bit, and then it's been going like that.
Every transaction was so much harder. And then what are we working against? We're working against Zillow. We're working against Redfin. We're working against, all the internet analysts and the Facebook analysts that, become economists because they read an article and now suddenly they're advising everyone not to buy a house. And they're telling them it's going to be, 2008 all over again. Get prepared to, and that's not what's going to happen. Interest rates rose. There was a market correction. We've seen that. Prices were not going to dip. And it was being able to have those conversations. So it took a lot of self-education to go back and say, okay, let's get back to basics. Let's go back to looking at numbers. Let's talk to people. Let's really credentialize ourselves and show them, because as realtors, we should be able to bring this information to the neighborhoods, to the markets, even to the people that are not selling, because there's nothing worse than seeing somebody sell their house way under market because they didn't have enough information. And as realtors and in every neighborhood, we should be sharing this so people can make educated decisions. So 2022 was a really hard year because, I had no all of that, and I was completely out of shape. I had been out of routine for 2 years, so I had to like crack down on myself and make myself go to work, make myself have a routine, because you can take
so
days off.
So you pretty much put yourself on check.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, we're not gonna continue these habits and this mindset. I gotta shift it. I gotta put myself out there.
What's been the mindset? You talked about. I heard you earlier. You talked about that mindset. Is there something that you listen, a book you've read that you stuck to over the years and you read, or something that just keeps your mindset like on the go?
I'm constantly reading different things. I've done a lot of self awareness and development. Yeah, because you carry a lot of your upbringing, trauma, different things into your business life. And so for me, I carried a lot of that with me, and it wasn't until I started making the the linking it like, hey, you know, maybe I shouldn't react to this way, because our business is very emotional.
Yeah.
And we're dealing with other people's emotions, and we have to keep a level head. And if we can't keep ourselves in check, then we've lost.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I've had to work on developing mindset. I'm constantly reading different books, and then looking at the leaders that I have around me, taking advantage of the mentors, and just keeping myself focused.
Is there a book that you said you recommend as a new agent? Read this book. It's one point for you.
The first book that I ever read in this industry was written by Bruce Mulhern.
Oh, Bruce.
And it was
Rest in
Hunger,
peace,
Hustle,
Bruce.
Hunch. It's a very easy read, but it kind of keeps with the basics. And one of the figures that was always stayed in my mind was that it took 12 times for somebody to hear your name and what you do to match it up with you and for it to be in your head. Most people quit, like 75% of people quit at the 8th time. So they don't see it all the way through. So even though it feels like nobody's watching, nobody remembers, nobody sees, you just have to keep doing that because you're working with their memory.
Very important. 12 times.
Major knowledge drop there 12 times.
12 times.
And most people quit. I think most people quit in the first 3 to 4, let's be honest with you. Most people in our industry, right? So it requires 12 times for them to hear your name over and over what you do. I love that. Now, what are some systems, because we know that systems are important for our industry, right? I always say systems is an acronym. It stands for save yourself some time, energy, money, and stress, and I've shared this in other episodes. What are some of the systems that you use and implement on a daily basis in your business that have helped you kind of leverage yourself in your business?
Well, number one, Facebook, because Facebook, if you're starting out, Facebook's one of the best ways to keep as a CRM because it remembers everybody's birthday, when they move, their kids' birthdays, their anniversaries, and you always see these things come up. So as long as you've commented, you've known, you get to develop a relationship with people where they're seeing you, you know, firsthand. You can put videos, they see your face, they see your posts, and then you have to be mindful of what you post. Secondly, Instagram, you know, that's the co-part of it, and it helps keep up. It doesn't keep the anniversaries like Facebook does. Then third goes into a CRM because you have to have some type of plan in place to set up reminders to follow up, because follow up I think is where we all drop the ball. That was my weakest thing. I'm blessed with referrals because my husband knows a lot of people, and people that we've done good things for always remember to share that information. But I also was really bad with follow-up. And so having a good CRM in place is what's most important.
Is that something that
Fortunes in the follow-up.
you now focus on your follow-up?
Yes. Yes.
This is interesting because a lot of people know about it, but yet they don't do nothing about it.
No, and we can all say like our follow-up's bad, but
yeah, it's interesting. But I always say that I'm a big believer that, especially for the new agents, they ask me what CRM. I'm like, just go on Instagram. That should be your CRM for right now, because if you put it's that algorithm, you
I
just put
consider
yourself out there.
for me, the Instagram's my SOI, my sphere of influence that I gotta maintain and nourish all the time. But the CRM, like how you talked about Facebook, is crazy because it's true.
Yes.
I never saw Facebook as a CRM. I saw it as a social platform, but the fact that it does,
she's utilizing it to her leverage. She's leveraging it.
What's the CRM that you recommend for a lot of the new agents or agents that are in the industry now to have?
well, okay, each franchise has a proprietary that they use, and I would always say to kind of learn and take advantage of what's available to you free, because nobody walks into this with a ton of money to blow, and you could blow money easily on anything.
True.
Yeah, you know, you'll get the calls, oh, do you want to get leads or whatever, and Joe would always tell us, if you buy leads, you're the one that got sold.
Say it again. Quote him again.
If you buy leads, you're the one that got sold. And it always registered with me because I was like, you know what, he's right. Like, this is somebody trying to sell you a shortcut, and then you still have to make it happen.
That's right.
I always tell people, before you buy leads or anything like that online, make sure that you have the skill set to manage them, because now you're just throwing money away, right? A lot of people start buying these leads and then they don't even have the systems in place. They don't have the infrastructure of how to manage them. They don't know how to talk to them. They don't know how to convert them. They don't know how to set appointments. You're just throwing money away. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have to be prepared to what you're going to go say, and realistically, I mean, you just look around you. You could go and door knock your neighborhood. You could door knock anywhere else. Not that any of us like getting out there and walking door to door and stuff.
What was your first lead from? If we're talking about leads, like, what was your first transaction? Was it out the cold call, door knocking, sphere of influence?
It was actually Sphere of Influence.
It's a lot.
And so
Mine's were Solano too.
Yeah.
My first.
Was it a listing or?
So my first buyer was a call-in at the hard money lender that I worked for. It was an agent that left, and then I said, he doesn't work here anymore. And they said, okay, well, we don't really know him. We just saw his name on something, but can you help us? And it ended up being a short sale purchase. They barely qualified for anything.
Short sales.
Yeah, and so they got this condo in Compton for like $100,000. It was the longest process, but when I went, I met with the seller when I was showing the property and I was talking to her. So out of everybody, she picked my buyers. The first listing I got was a referral, and it was a friend of mine from high school. So thank you, Lisa Marie, who had me sell her grandmother's house, and it was the first listing I ever did. I didn't even have a sign. I didn't know how to have a sign put up in the yard. I didn't put flyers in the neighborhood. I didn't, put it on social media. I didn't do any of those things by the grace of God. It went in the MLS and,
So my first listing was a short sale too, and I was not trained well. I went and scheduled the appointment, but I didn't have a listing agreement, and they said yes, and I look at the person that was supposed to kind of lead it and train me. I go, what do I do next? And she goes, where's the listing agreement? I go, I don't know how this works. So did you bring it? No, you didn't bring it. So we closed on it. It was a short sale. It took about a year, but I didn't bring a listing agreement to my first listing appointment with the short sale. So part of the growing pains as we're new agents. Yeah, so I didn't come from a office at good training, good support system.
I didn't.
I want to hear this now. That's nothing.
We didn't have card forms for whatever reason. It was a small office. So the list, we found one and we had to white out all of the stuff and then make a copy. And then it was handwritten, I had to handwrite all the information on there. And I believe the listing agent's name was Josue Ramon. So Josue, thank you for your help. And I filled out the offer wrong, and then he called me. I remember I was on bed rest, and he called me and he was like, hey, is this your first time writing an offer? And I was like, yes. And he said, okay, well, my seller wants to work with you guys, so I'm going to help you. Go back and fix this and do this here and then get it initialed. And so we did. So thank you for helping me.
Have you passed that forward to another agent and said that
I've never had to do that, thank God.
I've done that several times where you see it, you cringe, but then you do call back. You just pass it.
Yeah, some agents, they're newer, they want to be ambitious, they go on through it. Sometimes they don't really seek the help of the leadership, which you should.
Yeah.
But that's part
guilty?
of the process. No, I made a lot. When I was a new agent, I'm telling you, I appreciate the people when I started 100%. I'm not going to say that I'm grateful, I'm not. But it wasn't one of those offices where I was really well trained and where they invested a lot in that training. So I had to figure out a lot of my stuff on my own. Google was my best friend in asking it, and I appreciate the people along my journey that actually helped me and guided me. I had a friend that was an appraiser. He showed me how to actually conduct good CMAs and good numbers for that, because I didn't know what I was doing, So yes, seek leadership, seek the people in your office, the knowledgeable ones. They will help you before you have one of our stories kind of hit you. So
I can't help either one of them. So
back to you. If you were to reflect back, right, and say, let's talk to Georgette when she was new in the business and not knowing what you know now, what were some changes that you would have made back then if you knew what you know now?
I want to know the answer to this.
I would have found Joe at C21 All Stars.
Shout out to Joe.
Yeah, so Joe, I would have found you sooner, and we would have worked together since I was younger. I have to appreciate everyone that was in my journey. I think I wish I would have had more confidence to go full time and know the difference between a full-time and a part-time realtor. I used to hate when people would say part-time realtor, and like it was an insult. But it's not until you give a full dedication and make this your full-time job that you understand the level of respect and integrity that you have to put into every transaction. And I understand the difference now.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you, Georgette, for sharing that. Anything you want to add? I want to. Well, we're gonna end it pretty soon, but I want you to share some information that you want to leave with some of the newer agents stepping into the kind of like your 5 top things that you would advise them to do. But anything else that you want to share?
I don't know. I'm actually taking notes, mental notes. I see you taking notes, and
I have quite a few. I have more. I want to go back and play
I would just say this: if there's someone out there in this industry, and I'm pretty sure we'll be able to share your social media. But I'm a big believer that no matter what firm you're at, seek help. You got to raise your hand, because there's a lot of agents out there that just will blame, right? They play the victim role.
Don't get fed.
But I would be one of those people that, had I had social media and my leverage when I was starting out, I would have just seeked out and just, hey, quick, what would you do to this?
But let's just be honest, and I say this all the time. Like when we were growing up, or we were in high school, or whatever, we didn't have social media, we didn't have YouTube. So if you were ugly, you were ugly. You know what I mean? You didn't have like 50 different makeup tutorials or things to do at that time, or to figure out how to dress or anything. Same thing with our industry. There is so much help available right now that it's almost impossible.
It's at your tip of your fingers. What I'm saying, and the point I was trying to make is, if they know you, I mean, you're busy, but I would have loved to have access to a top producer right away. Like, hey, so how did you do this?
And the fact that you're an open book, right? You've been an open book of everything we've asked, and I think that a lot of, not just the men in the industry, but the women that are in this industry have somebody to aspire to and the steps to follow to get there. I know you can't really get into deep too much with these type of interviews on like the how-tos and what-to-dos, but I appreciate what you've shared so far, because that just shows the type of person you are and your willingness to give back and contribute back to the other people that were in your shoes many years, that are in your shoes now, when you were many years ago. And look at her now. She's a #1 agent. Can we share what your production was for the year? Is that okay? Yeah, you can Google it.
Yeah, you can Google it.
We can.
It's like the IRS has now entered the chat.
Stop it, bro.
Let's just say it was up there. It's a really, for her to be the #1 agent and the #1 realtor and the #1.
I mean, office. you're just in a competitive office. Yeah. Just starting there.
But you know what? The numbers were significantly lower than what we've seen in prior years. So if I had to give like 5 things, I think the first thing, #1, is to figure out why you're becoming a realtor. Are you becoming a realtor because you watched $1 Million Listing and you have these ideas that you're going to go and you're going to show 3 houses and they're going to pick one and it's going to open escrow and you're going to have this easy life and have all this extra time? #2, you need to figure out how much money you need to make each month and how much money you want to make each month, and break it down, and then put yourself like on a budget and work towards that, because if not, it's very easy to get lost. #3, be willing to work with other people. Remember that this is a people business, and even when you have a little bit of success, don't lose your humility. A lot of people forget instantly. They get a little bit of Instagram fame or something, and they forget why you're doing this. Always be grateful. Every day you have to inhale love, exhale gratitude, and be grateful for...
Inhale love, exhale gratitude?
That's right.
I love that.
And then be consistent. Be consistent, be motivated, and set tangible goals for yourself every day. Whether it's, I'm going to make 5 contacts. Because you could say, I'm going to be auto dialing all day. Okay, great. What are you hoping to get out of it? Because if not, you'll spend your whole day doing that, and you're only wasting your own time. You're doing a disservice to yourself. So those would be the tips that I would do. Look for an office that's going to offer leadership, that's going to offer guidance, and understand that you don't know everything, that you never stop learning, because that's the biggest thing that's key. I mean, I don't know everything. I'm still learning. I fail at a high level. I'm always failing forward, and I'm okay with that, because as long as I'm better than I was yesterday, then I'm making progress.
Yeah. Lunch is here. Chewy takes off. I'm kidding.
If he's not back in time, I'm gonna eat his. So we never saw it.
We promised her lunch. It's lunch with a top producer, so we gotta make sure she eats. She's sharing a lot of great information. She needs her food here. Okay. I don't want her to be hangry.
I think Jose got hangry and ate Chewy.
He is Fun size? Bite size? Lunch was great. Thank you, Greater DRR, for providing lunch for ourselves and our amazing guests here. We're going to get into something fun just to end it right here. Got Chewy. We got some rapid fire.
Rapid fire questions. Favorite sport?
Football.
Football. So that leads up to this question. If you had to wear the Cowboys jersey or the 49ers jersey, which one would it be?
Sudden death.
Sudden. She used to be a Raider fan, but her husband is now
Favorite team?
cheesehead.
Favorite team?
Packers.
Packers. All right, got it.
She wouldn't wear the Niners because she knows that the Niners took out the Packers twice. You know?
Oh my Jesus. I'll keep this PG since we can't say cuss words.
Yeah. Favorite ice cream flavor?
I would have to say either pistachio or chocolate malted crunch.
All right.
Favorite type of food?
Pizza.
From where?
Scardino's in La Puente.
Oh, I have to try that. I heard
You really have to try that.
All right.
One of your pet peeves?
You.
Ooh.
Jose.
Grammar. Your, there. Yes.
Wow. All right.
Oh, and saying pizza. And it's pizza.
Pizza.
Pizza. Pizza.
Yeah, say the Mexican. The paisa way right here.
Favorite concert you attended and why?
Wow. I would say the mixtape tour that was just recently.
Okay.
And because it really, like the way that they jumped from band to and song to song, it was really like when you used to make mixtapes.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah.
If you weren't a realtor, what would you be?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'd probably do life insurance or financial services and planning, be a stay-at-home mom, be a lender. I don't know. I could do anything.
Favorite music?
Favorite music? I like everything.
Really?
Yeah, so it's a mix. So I like
Favorite
Spanish
artist?
music. Favorite artist? Wow. I can't narrow it down to one. I like a lot. Like I was listening to Michael Jackson and Paul McCartney on the way here.
Oh. All right.
It just depends on the mood. I love music.
So when you're feeling thuggish?
Oh, Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre.
There you go. I like that.
What song?
Ain't nothing but a G thing.
That's my favorite right there. Ain't nothing but a G thing, baby.
There you go.
What other questions would be good?
Oh, maybe I got some for you guys.
Ooh.
That needs to be edited. And this is where we wrap up the interview. Once again, thank you guys all for joining in. This is episode 21. And the best thing I could probably do at this moment is what's one last tip of advice you will give a brand new realtor?
I'm going to give two brand new realtors and all the realtors out there. There's more than enough room for us to all eat at the table. What I want to say is stop looking at other people as competition or comparing yourself to them and focus on your own goal. Look at them as motivation and be motivated by other people's numbers, but don't be one of those realtors that sits there and breaks down what everyone else is doing because while you're worried and counting their coins, you're not building your own.
There it is.
Ooh, that's some nuggets right there. I love that last piece of advice, by the way. Georgette, thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
your
you
time
so
with
much.
us. We appreciate you.
Nice
Appreciate
meeting
it.
you.
Likewise.